past bonds versus newly established friendships, betrayal for love, fears of being forgotten, anxieties, and jealousy. Sylphie explores many different concepts amidst Rudius' first year at the University of Magic. While the internet is full of memes joking about how easy and simple the second season of Mushoku Tensei would be if Sylphie just revealed who she was, there's a deeper story surrounding this decision when you go through the Sylphie Side Stories in the novel series. And that's what we're going to get into with this video, the true story of Sylphie and Master Fitz. To get people fully caught up here, after the displacement incident happened, Sylphie finds herself in the presence of Ariel, the princess of the Ashra Kingdom. She becomes Ariel's bodyguard until Ariel eventually has to flee the kingdom and resides inside of the University of Magic. At this point, Ariel's trying to gain allies so that she can go back and claim the crown. At the University of Magic, Ariel's trying to gain favor with many different influential people, as well as powerful individuals. One such individual is Rudius Greyrat. After Sylphie spends many months with Rudius, disguised as Fitz, Ariel eventually pushes Sylphie to reveal who she is to Rudius. But additionally, Luke and Ariel aid Sylphie in curing Rudius' ED. The following chapter takes place the night that Sylphie beds Rudius. Side Story Sylphiette Part 0. That night, Sylphie dreamt about her past and Rudius' arrival at the university. After Ariel had taken her position as student council president, they had recruited many influential students and faculty. Then as they were recruiting outside the university, they stumbled upon Quagmire Rudius. Again, Quagmire was the nickname that everybody gave Rudius when he was doing his adventuring, because he used Quagmire spell so many times. Sylphie knew that it was him based on the description of his feats, being a silent spellcaster, and using tricks like Shockwave and summoning bogs to slow people. Ariel was obviously skeptical of Rudius. The info around him was fishy. However, Sylphie, knowing that Roxy spent time in the village, and that Rudius was sent off by Paul, could confirm the stories to Princess Ariel. Still, Ariel wasn't sure if someone so exceptional as Rudius, and that had ties with the Boreas Greyrats, would even aid her. Now, honestly, Sylphie didn't really know much about the web of alliances, but she did know about the various Greyrat branches. The Boreas family was loyal to the first prince. That made them their enemy. And again, Rudius was staying with the Boreas family. That's Edis, Philip, Saros. And if Rudius was working for them, that was a good chance that he was their enemy too. But Sylphie figured because Rudius was wandering the Northern Territories, it was obvious that he cut ties some time ago. So she told Ariel that she was sure that Rudius would help if she asked him. But she said this with little confidence in her voice, to which Luke mocked Sylphie because her chest was so small, claiming that no one of the Nodos family would be won over by such a small chest. He mocked her chest a lot, claiming women without proper breasts weren't even women, but he'd always soften the blow by claiming that that was the reason why they could be friends. It was a pleasant thought, but it always ruined Sylphie's self-esteem. And this is why Sylphie never thought that Rudius liked her body, because she was so small. One of the main reasons why she lacked confidence in even confronting him. The bigger problem was that Sylphie was Silent Fitz right now. She would have to reveal her identity in order to connect with him. But Ariel during this conversation was just pleased that Sylphie had finally found the one that she was looking for. Because yes, technically at this point, they've already discovered that Sylphie's parents are dead. The only other person that she has left in her life is really technically Rudius and his family. Despite the fears of blowing up her plan, it seemed that Ariel was okay with unmasking Fitz, but only to Rudius. I'll make a special exception. You could reveal your identity to Rudius. Sylphie was shocked. She was willing to unmask Silent Fitz. But Princess, our whole plan might fall apart. Fitz was a living embodiment of Princess Ariel's power, mysterious origins, remarkable magical skills. Remember, way back after the displacement incident, Sylphie fell from the sky into the royal palace. Nobody knew where she came from. She didn't come in on a carriage. She wasn't summoned there or anything like that. Just suddenly out of nowhere, everybody notices, who's this person standing next to Ariel? Out of nowhere, there's a person suddenly standing next to Ariel. And they're extremely powerful. That's what creates this mystery around Fitz and makes people afraid of him. Fitz was somebody that stayed silently by Ariel's side, obeying her every order. It added to the mystery of Ariel and made her more intimidating. Sylphie was powerful enough to beat the average magician or swordsman. She wasn't king tier or imperial tier, but she could probably hold her own against a sword saint. While Sylphie couldn't take on one of the king tier warriors that the throne could call upon, she was Ariel's strongest weapon. And many supported Ariel because she won the loyalty of someone as strong as Fitz. That's the thing. Ariel doesn't have some sort of power herself. It's not like she's gonna start slicing people up. So how does she control somebody so deadly? If word got out that Fitz was just a common girl from a backwoods village, those people may break away from their camp. Again, because there's all that mystery, if they found out that she's just a commoner, just some random, they no longer see that Ariel has some sort of control. Ariel claimed that Sylphie had done so much for her. The very least she could do was give them a reunion, even if it meant their plans falling into pieces. Though she still acknowledges that what better way in order to pull Rudius into their camp than have his childhood friend recruit him. So even despite the fact that it seems like Ariel's like, I want to give you this, there's still going to be benefit to herself. Sylphie thanked Ariel. Even with hesitation, she knew Ariel obviously had an angle for personal profit. But that didn't bother Sylphie at this point. She was looking forward to reuniting with Rudy. Everything went as planned. He was admitted, and Sylphie met him first at practical skills class. He looked gloomier than before, but it was him. She nearly shouted out in joy the moment that she seen him. He was so handsome, yet had traces of the boy that she had known back in her home village. His robes were tattered, but gave him a nice hint of danger. The way he moved and carried his staff indicated he'd gone through many battles. As Sylphie watched Rudius, she remembered she planned on marrying him back at the Winter Village, but now she wondered if he was out of her league. The more she stared, the more hotter her body grew. But just as she was about to rush out and call his name, a woman followed him in. Was it his wife? Yes, to clarify here, this is Ellen-Lise. When Rudius was brought by Genius in order to go and test him to make sure that all the rumors were true about silent casting and everything, basically his entrance exam, Ellen-Lise went with him, and she walked in that room with him. And the anime kind of has her standing in the second floor watching. But no, this entire time, she's just holding on to Rudius walking in. Again, another explanation as to why Sylphie isn't so inclined to just jump out and say, "Hey, it's me, Sylphie." As Sylphie looked at this girl, something about her reminded her of her dad. Her face looked elegant and dignified, like a queen, maybe a wealthy noblewoman, and she was hanging all over Rudius. While Rudius looked like he was exasperated, he didn't complain or push her away. Still, Rudius was handsome. It made sense that he had a gorgeous woman at his side. Sylphie and him were just friends. Why would it be a problem? She wanted to congratulate him, but as she confronted him to test his silent casting, he introduced himself. He had forgotten her. But then she remembered. She was dressed as a boy, had white hair, was wearing glasses. 8 years had passed. It was silly to think that he'd recognize her. But she couldn't take the glasses off right now. She'd have to get him somewhere private later. But then an ugly thought flashed through her mind. What if he doesn't remember her anymore? Again, continuing the spiral that I can't reveal who I am. Fears and anxiety are building up. She of course lost the duel. Rudius crushed her. He could have easily hit her with a stone cannon, but he took it easy on her. All her progress in magic felt completely irrelevant. He had moved so far ahead of her. Already right here, you're getting that kind of parallels with Edis' story. This idea of Rudius is always farther ahead of her, that she's not worthy to be with him. Shaking his hand, Sylphie was confused by his comment about purposely losing. But she knows how callous his hands were. He had been spending more time swinging a sword than even Luke. Yet, Rudius wasn't a swordsman. Her heart began to race even more as Rudius' warmth was spreading through her hand. She was irrationally happy. After he left, her happiness faded as she remembered that he had forgotten her. She would spend time later crying. There's a funny aspect that you kind of see throughout Sylphie's side stories. This idea that she constantly goes, "But wait, why doesn't he recognize me?" But then another time going, "But wait, there's a reason why he isn't." It's almost as if she forgets, or at least hopes that he'd remember. Ariel and Luke seemed upset that Rudy had forgotten her. They decided that they shouldn't approach him so aggressively as they had planned in order to recruit him. Instead, Ariel wanted to lead the matter to Sylphie. In classes, Sylphie would aid Princess Ariel and Luke in their studies, as the classes failed to teach things like combined magic as well as Rudy did. It was puzzling that their methods were so different, as she thought that Rudy learned it from Roxy, who had learned it here. Ariel had to keep up her appearances to the other students, so keeping her grades up were important. Between classes, Ariel asked Sylphie to bring her books from the library, claiming that it would help her for her next class. While Sylphie didn't think that she'd make it back in time, she did so anyways. She was shocked to find that Rudius was there. When I read this, I immediately knew, yeah, Ariel knew that Rudius was there. She asked you to go there in order to run into Rudius. What were the chances, she thought? He quickly apologized for his actions during the practical skills class. It seemed that he thought that she was upset with him. Again, from Rudius' perspective, he believed that knocking down the big dog of the school would lead to them bullying him later on. So that's why he claimed that he lost on purpose and that, wanted to do something in order to regain favor with Fitz. The fact that he thought that she was upset gave her the impression that Luke and Ariel were upset at Rudius as well, that she had lost face as Fitz because Rudius beat her so soundly. Rudius went on to explain his purpose for being there, to investigate the displacement incident. He had someone that he was still searching for. This impressed Sylphie. After 3 years of traveling back from the Demon Continent, he didn't rest. He immediately went on to search for other people. So of course he would jump to the idea of joining their university. It was his chance to learn more about the incident. If it was her, she'd probably be exhausted and spend the next couple of years hanging around the refugee camp. Of course, we all know that he didn't because he wanted to leave there because of everything that happened with Edis. That evening, Sylphie was washing Ariel's underwear. It was an important task as it was made from extremely expensive fabric. And since they were worn by an Osphran princess, it added value. You could sell them for a lot of money in the black market. There was also an incident a while back where they were stolen when they were sent off to wash. Of the 5 sent, 4 were stolen, 3 were sold off, and 1 was kept by the male student responsible. This disgusted most of the female students. But Ariel and Sylphie knew that there was far more worse people in the royal court. And there's also Rudius. As she washed the underwear, she noted that she wore the same underwear and color in order to hide her gender. Yes, it makes sense in the idea that if she had her own style of underwear and she was washing them, people would know that Fitz was a girl. So Ariel pretty much had her always wearing the same underwear as her. As she was doing this, she noticed that Rudius was walking near the dorms. It was late and against the rules, but he didn't know that. And that's when she unfortunately dropped the underwear. He caught them, and then he was immediately surrounded by Goliath and the others. Sylphie assumed that he'd run or scare them off, but Rudius didn't do anything. Seeing Rudius' unhappy face as Goliath seized him by the arm reminded her of her days in Buena Village, the way she had been bullied. She had a cold feeling in the pit of her stomach. She leapt from the balcony and rushed over. Then, as she approached, Rudy fixed his feet to the ground using earth magic. Sylphie didn't understand the reason why, though. Maybe there wasn't one. This was Rudy. It was hard to imagine that his legs were shaking or anything, but then Sylphie remembered. Back in Buena Village, when Rudius had chased off Samal and the other bullies, his legs were shaking. Later, when he found out that she was a girl and things got awkward, she remembered him trembling slightly when he said, "Man, I feel like you're really cold lately, Sylphie." He was scared because he thought she hated him, just like a normal boy. This is one of those realization points for Sylphie, and we kind of seen the same experience with Eris. This idea that people don't realize that Rudius, despite the fact that he's amazing, he's still a scared child. As I kind of pointed out to a lot of people, Rudius, despite the fact of being reincarnated into another world, still retained his mind. He's sort of a man-child. Because of his experience in his previous life, going from school immediately to being locked up in his own room, he never had a chance to mature, to grow up. And yes, every time something of hatred, every time he's surrounded by people, every time he has eyes on him, he trembles in fear. So despite the fact this guy can literally blast all these girls away, blast Goliath away, he trembles in fear. Because he can't take that. He can't take those eyes. And yes, right here, Goliath is saying, I'm going to take him and go interrogate him, because obviously he's involved with this underwear thieving. He's doing something improper here. He's somewhere where he's not supposed to be. And as Goliath's pulling him away, he locks himself to the ground, and he's trembling. He's terrified of being dragged off, tied to a fence again, stripped down, having pictures taken of him. He's reliving his memories. This made Sylphie realize that she was acting like Rudius was special because he was so talented. She had always felt like he was many years older than her. Technically, right? But they were the same age, weren't they? She suddenly recalled what her father asked her, and the promise that she had made. Sylphie, are you just going to sit around letting him protect you forever? She was going to help Rudy. Be strong enough to stand at his side. Support him no matter what. It was the whole reason why she had worked so hard all this time. He was in trouble right now, and she hadn't done anything to help. And it was her fault to begin with, because yes, she technically dropped the underwear. So she put herself between them and spoke up. It was the first time that she had spoken out loud to anyone besides Ariel and Luke. Again, the silent Fitz persona. She never speaks, because yes, technically her speaking would give off the idea that she's a female and not a boy. Even after explaining the situation, Goliath was stubborn. Sylphie knew that beastfolk were strict about rules. Goliath sought to make an example of him by punishing him. This set Sylphie off inside. Something snapped. Sylphie threatened Goliath, which led to Goliath finally backing off. Sylphie then apologized to Rudy, knowing it was all her fault. But Rudius looked at it differently. Before, he was wary of her, but now it seemed like he trusted her. Gaining his trust made her happy. As they were walking out of the dorms, he thanked her politely for explaining the dorm rules. This made her wonder if she ever thanked Rudius properly for all the things that he had done for her, when he saved her from the bullies. She slipped out that it felt weird having him thank her. When he asked why, she nearly mentioned the first time that they met, but she hesitated. Anxiety swelled up inside of her. Did she really want to reveal her identity? What if Rudius, again, didn't remember her? In the end, she chose to start over with a blank slate, put the past behind, and get to know him as he was now. So, her reply was simply, that's a secret. Again, this is another one of those explanations as to why this whole time Fitz never revealed the identity of being Sylphie. Right here, what Sylphie has decided is that I'm afraid that he's not going to remember me. So instead of that, because things are kind of going well right now, like he now trusts me because I helped him, he's being very polite, we're having a fun conversation, what's so wrong with this? Instead of relying on the fact that we have this past together, that I'm afraid that he's forgotten, why not live in the now? Why not just start over? Why not just be Fitz and Rudius, bestest of friends? Rudius gave the underwear back to her before she returned back to her dorm. But that's when she realized the underwear that she had in her hand, the underwear that Rudius had caught in the air, The underwear that she was cleaning was her own. She was extremely embarrassed. I kind of got a kick out of that whole reveal and the idea that in the anime, and even in the novel way back then, it just kind of assumes, oh, these are princesses' underwear. Really good underwear. But I know that when I got to this part, when I was reading this part, and it mentioned the idea that they wear the same, I was like, it's going to be hers. It's totally going to be hers. Cutting back to the current time, as Sylphie wakes up, laying next to Rudius, she gave off a yelp. But it didn't wake him. She had seen him like this back at Buena Village, sleeping with a peaceful expression. But this was the first time as an adult. Knowing that they were both naked under the sheets, and a soreness between her legs, she acknowledged that she'd actually done it. She had dreamed of this, but not in graphic detail, for so many years. The more she remembered the previous night, the more she wanted to squeeze her pillow to her chest and roll around, kicking in embarrassment and ecstasy. She ended up bumping shoulders as she covered her face. He was muscular, and big enough to swallow her up completely in his arms. As she pulled away, he grimaced in his sleep, as if he was in pain. Holding his hand, his expression softened. After opening his eyes and looking to her, he grabbed her chest. She was in a panic, but didn't punch him. She sort of liked how it felt. After a while, he hugged her and murmured, "I'm cured," in a voice full of feeling. She didn't understand it fully, but there was something else on her mind. She asked him what he thought of her body. Was it okay? Her heart raced with anxiety. Again, it's been drilled in her head by Luke that her body isn't what gray rats want. As she waited, he replied with simply, "Thank you." She didn't know what he was thanking her for in the cave, but now she did. She was able to help him out. Maybe they weren't equal in some respects, but she managed to support him. The dream she was chasing after all these years came true. From now on, Rudy and her were a team. It's so cute. It's so cute. And that is the true story of Sylphie, or Fitz, or Sylphiette. What do you want to call her? Sylphiette Grey Rat. Like I said, it is a great set of chapters. These types of segments are truly special in the novel series. For the most part, the entire series is mostly just the perspective of Rudius, and in all cases, it's first person, it's in his mind and what he's experiencing. But every now and then, the story will kind of diverge. Suddenly it'll jump to somebody else's perspective and give their ideas about what's currently happening. And similar to what happened in Volume 6 with Eris, it's this full perspective of everything that happened up until that point, to give you a true feeling as to what the person's going through. Again, with Sylphie, the reason for her not revealing her identity to Rudius is multiple facets. Initially, it is he's with another woman. He's with Elise. She's clinging on to him, and he doesn't look like he's pushing her away. Doesn't look like he's dissatisfied. So maybe they are a couple. And she's so beautiful compared to me. Then we confront each other, and he greets me. He doesn't remember who I am. It makes sense because I look different. I'm dressed as a boy. I'm wearing glasses. My hair color's different. But still, she has anxieties. I could still come out and say something, but what if he doesn't remember me? I can't take that. The reason why is because back in Buena Village, these memories for Sylphie means so much to her. You see a lot of these side chapters of Fitz himself and the idea about how they have this person they looked up to, their master. This person that taught them everything. This person that saved their life. Those memories mean so much to Sylphie, and the idea that Rudius might not find them as special puts so much anxiety in her. But then, like I said earlier, the moment that they have this moment where they connect, when she saves him from the bullies, saves him from Goliath, suddenly he's thanking her. Suddenly this person that she looks up to so much, this person that saved her, is thanking her. And now she's suddenly realizing, what's so bad about this? Why not make this the status quo? Why not just reset? Why rely so heavily on this being what makes us friends and makes us have a relationship? And let's just be in the now. Let me meet the new Rudius. Let the Rudius meet the new me. Let's just be together. What's so bad about that? So she chooses that this will be their new future. But then something changes at some point. That last push is what happens after Rudius meets Nanahoshi, this person that's claiming to have the same homeland as Rudius, when she knows Rudius is from Buena Village. And now suddenly, instead of coming to the library and studying the displacement incident all the time, and hanging out with Fitz or Sylphie, suddenly he's spending all his time with Nanahoshi. Now, granted, Rudius does invite Fitz to stay with them as they do their experiments. Fitz can't stay there because she has to reserve her mana and protect Ariel. There's a buildup of fear that Rudius has a relationship with Nanahoshi. She believes there's a connection between the two of them, and that Nanahoshi is going to take that seat from her, that Nanahoshi will take Rudeus away from her. And that's when Ariel pushes her into this plan to finally reveal who she is to Rudeus. And there's also the aspect this entire time Sylphie is struggling with betraying Ariel. Ariel that is her friend. She claims probably her best friend. This is somebody that saved her life, brought her in. I mean, easily Ariel could have just said, guards, here's this person that showed up out of nowhere, and Sylphie would be executed, sold off to forced servitude. There's a mountain of things that could have possibly happened to her, but no, Ariel brought her under her wing and created her as a guise of being her bodyguard. Yes, Sylphie, in a lot of chapters during this period of time, is considering that, yes, I know Ariel. I know her smile is fake. She smiles the same way that she smiles to me. Is she faking her smile? And that smile is what she uses to control people. She knows full well that Ariel controls people for her own benefit. But she doesn't see that in Ariel. She trusts Ariel despite the fact that she has seen her manipulate people. She knows that bond is genuine. And she doesn't want to betray that. She knows the moment she goes to Rudeus, she's betraying Ariel. But yes, at some point, Ariel has to push Sylphie and says, go to him. Leave me. It's time for you to go. You didn't swear your loyalty to me. But in fact, what's happening is me not letting you go to Rudeus is me betraying your feelings. And yes, it's the aspect that Sylphie technically does acknowledge the fact that Rudeus has been avoiding Ariel. Sylphie knew that getting closer to Rudeus would mean that the princess would be closer to Rudeus. Rudeus might think that Sylphie did it for Ariel's sake. Or Rudeus would come to adore Ariel like everyone else that served her. Sylphie didn't want that. She didn't want Rudeus to become like everyone else, taking a knee and becoming her follower. Yes, Sylphie knew that's why Ariel summoned him there. And yes, Sylphie didn't object. She actually even confirmed all the stuff that Ariel was questioning. But Rudeus was special to Sylphie. She didn't want him to be with someone else. And she knew what that meant. She was in love. That she wanted an exclusive relationship with Rudy. But again, despite these worries, Ariel chose to say, go to Rudeus. Don't betray your own feelings. Go to Rudeus. Anyhow, that is it. That is the true story of Sylphiette during the entire Fitz saga. I hope you guys enjoyed this skipped content video. As always, if you did, make sure that like button down below, comment, let me know what you thought of this whole segment. Did it give you some clarity as to why Sylphie didn't reveal who she was as Master Fitz, or does it not change anything for you? Do you still think it kind of ruins the whole situation? Additionally, as I promised, I'll be continuing doing skip content videos for the first season and second season as we go into the wait period until the next season starts. So if you're not already, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'll be trying to do releases every single week. I think I counted off the top of my head like 12 just off the top of my head of skip content I can do. I plan on one for Superds and Rajerd, Therese, a certain chef in the Dragon King realm that was kind of interesting, Lilia's backstory and her involvement with Paul. There's a whole segment in the country of Millis. There's a lot of stuff to go through, and I think it'll be a lot of fun, so I hope you guys will stick around for those videos. But additionally, if you like this content and you want to support this channel more, I have a Patreon link, tips link, super thanks, membership button down below. I greatly appreciate your guys' support. It means so much to me, and y'all take care.